All right, guys, I'm in my domain here. I'm in the parking lot of the movie theater on a Friday night, and I just got out of seeing The Running Man, which was directed by Edgar Wright, starring Glenn Powell. But yeah, I should start this review by saying I'm a huge fan of Edgar Wright. I've pretty much been a fan of his since day one, since like 2006, probably when I saw Shaun of the Dead. So I was predisposed to like this one. It's definitely not my favorite Edgar Wright movie, I'll say that right away. I think he's definitely made better films. But it was really cool to see him adapt something, especially work of Stephen King, who I'm also a really huge fan of. This isn't a horror film, obviously, but it does have a lot of Stephen King motifs and such in it. Very similar to The Long Walk, which is funny because one film's about walking, this is about running. But also the worlds of the film are very similar as well. Like I said, similar themes. Josh Brolin is in the film too, he's pretty good, but standout here, and this isn't a spoiler because he's in the trailers, Michael Cera is in this film. Was really happy to see the reunion between Michael Cera and Edgar Wright. Obviously, Edgar Wright directed Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is one of my favorite comedies. And Michael Cera's segment in this film made me really happy. I had a really big smile on my face during that segment. The music is great. That's the thing with all Edgar Wright movies, his soundtracks are incredible. This one's no different. Again, not my favorite Edgar Wright soundtrack. Obviously, stuff like Baby Driver is much stronger in the soundtrack department, same with like Scott Pilgrim, but this still really good stuff. The action and the frenetic movement in this film are really great, always moving. Obviously the title is The Running Man. It lives up to its title. Glenn Powell is running his ass off in this film. But Edgar Wright has really great cinematography in all his movies too. Anytime there was a driving sequence, it was really well shot. There's a shot in the trailer where Glenn Powell's running down a hall and he like slides into an elevator. There's just so many shots like that that are really cool and really memorable. I don't think this will be as rewatchable as some of Edgar Wright's other films, but I'll definitely be picking up the 4K Blu-ray of this flick. Also, much like The Long Walk from earlier this year, this film feels extremely relevant right now in today's world. So I thought the story and the script as a whole worked, and I thought it was pretty good. And it being an Edgar Wright movie, of course, there's a lot of comedy. I definitely laughed throughout this film. And there were certain action sequences that just had beautiful shots, like big explosions. It's been a long time since I watched an action movie and I was like actually wowed by an explosion. But there's a scene here, again, it's in the trailer, which is disappointing, but the scene where he slides down the manhole cover, like into the sewer and the explosion is following him. I feel like I let out an audible like, whoa, when that scene happened. It was so cool. I won't spoil anything. I will say, though, the ending of this film felt very familiar to the ending of another Edgar Wright film. I guess kind of just something you notice if you're a fan of his. But with that being said, I think it's safe to say that this isn't Edgar Wright really taking too many risks here. Kind of playing it safe. Granted, this is an adaptation, so like, yeah, that's the name of the game. Unless you want to like piss off people that read the book. Now, I'm actually not super familiar with the Stephen King book, or maybe I should say Richard Bachman book, because he wrote it under his pen name. So I can't say how different the film actually is from the book. But regardless of whether they changed anything or not, I would say everything really works here. There wasn't too many like logic loopholes or anything I really ran into that kind of like took me out of the movie or anything like that. If I had to have one complaint, I would say the film is a little long. Not that I have a problem with long movies, especially Stephen King adaptations, they tend to lean longer. But the film is like almost 2 hours and 20 minutes. And there's a couple scenes where I'm like, okay, speed it along. Like there's like a dream sequence where he's in this like abandoned house. I don't know. There's actually more than one dream sequence now that I'm thinking about it. And I hate dream sequences. But, you know, that's a small complaint. Those are short scenes. The movie's really not that long. And I was totally entertained throughout. So yeah, as a big fan of Edgar Wright, kind of knowing what I was getting myself into, I would say this movie was about as good as I expected it to be, which is saying a lot because I have high hopes when it comes to Edgar Wright stuff. It's not perfect, but it's incredibly entertaining, and I definitely recommend it, especially in theaters. It's Friday night, so the theater was pretty packed, and it made for a very fun viewing experience. So please go out to the theater, check this one out. It's totally worth your time and money, totally worth a watch. On the Letterboxd 5-star review scale, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. It could have been a little more Edgar Wrighty, you know, and it could have been a little more like British humory, kind of like how his other films are, but it's cool to see him doing something a little different. It feels like this is a very commercial film, like they want this to be a moneymaker. So it's not the most Edgar Wright movie, if that makes sense. Not to say it doesn't feel like one of his movies, it totally does in a lot of ways. But again, from the trailers, I kind of expected that was going to be the case. I feel like the studio kind of had a big hand in this movie, but they didn't ruin it, so I'm happy to report that. And just keep all that in mind while going in, adjust your expectations accordingly. I think you'll have a really good time with this one. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.